All right. Well, welcome to another session of Empowered Learning 101. We took kind of a long break after Thanksgiving. I think we're going to do 2 sessions and then take another break for Christmas.
We had a really long nap
We really did,
caused by the
but it
turkey and the tryptophan.
but it was really needed for me, at least. I don't know how Justin felt, but I
I,
definitely
I
needed
have kids too, so yes,
it.
I
So,
need to nap every hour of every day.
exactly. All right. Well, today's session, we're actually going to focus a little bit on the holiday season, giving gifts that matter, and how to handle the holidays with family learning. But before we start, we definitely want to do a big shout out, big thank you to Idaho Freedom Action. You can find their information at idahofreedomaction.org. They've been kind enough to sponsor these family learning, as we're kind of moving into this new idea of learning more at home lifestyle. They were gracious enough to see that these were very needed and were willing to sponsor us. We appreciate that. Also, just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Rebecca Bowman. If you haven't attended these classes before, I've been married to my sweetheart for 26 years. I have 4 great kids. I consider myself an accidental homeschooler. I actually was starting a charter school, began homeschooling just as a temporary thing and just kept going with it. So I've been online homeschooling for 16 years. My oldest 2 sons have actually graduated from different online schools, and I'm a very strong advocate for school choice. I'm a learning enthusiast. I love the ideas of how we can learn and think differently and how that can move us into being self-directed learners. I'd love to hear more about who we're reaching. Hopefully, as you're watching these, you're putting down in the chat and talking about, what your family dynamic is, where you're located, what kind of education you're doing. I'd love to, the thing we like to focus on is maybe what your frustrations are, your fears, your worries. This is that year of 2020 is, all these fears and worries and all of us trying new things, and maybe also successes that you've seen. We definitely want to introduce Dustin Hertz. He's with the Idaho Freedom Action. He's our representative moderating the chat. So do you want to kind of introduce yourself with who you are? Okay, I can't hear you, Dustin.
That's because I just went all boomer and had my mute on. I am so sorry. Uh, so I am Dustin Hurst. I am the vice president here at the Idaho Freedom Foundation and Idaho Freedom Action. I've been doing nonprofit political education type work for the last 10 years. It's amazing to think that it's actually my 6-year anniversary with IFF is coming up in a week, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
But more important than that, I'm a dad. I have 3 kids. They are 8, 6, and 2. And I'm very interested in making sure that when they leave my house or apartment, whatever the case may be, that they are empowered learners who are ready to tackle this modern economy. And my wife and I homeschool because we had our kids in charter schools. Because the COVID thing, we pulled them out. And I kind of saw what government was going to do, which was jerk kids around, whether it's online learning, weird schedules, hybrid learning, like it's just a mess. So
Yeah.
we are new homeschoolers, and this class is, obviously we're offering it to everybody for free because we believe in this, but it's also selfishly a project of mine where I want to understand homeschooling and unschooling and help my kids succeed. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm so grateful that, Rebecca, that you're willing to share your wisdom and experience with us. So with that, I'll let you take it away.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is, and who knows what's going to happen after Christmas. We're expecting the governor to come out with another, tomorrow, another message. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe schools will close down. Who knows? And this will become more vital than ever. If not, hopefully this is information that you can find useful regardless of what your kids are, where they're going to school or what they're doing. Everyone's obviously doing more at home than they were before. And it's a new learning curve for parents that are new to this, definitely. The last time we met, which was like 2 weeks ago, we talked about managing distractions. And you can find these on my website at theluminousmind.net. Oh, we have to update some of these, definitely. But some of the things that we talked about was kind of getting that social network on board, mentoring our children on managing their own lives, creating better focus for our lives. And then we also added teaching mind calming techniques, which I think is really vital to good learning of how to teach our children how to calm themselves and how to maybe work through their own problems. And then also creating peace in our homes during troubled times with all of our, all of the unknowns that we have going on right now. This time we're going to talk about giving gifts that matter. We're going to focus on that holiday session or that holiday season and how we make learning at home work during probably the most stressful time of the year. We're going to talk about what you want most, what your goals are for the season, being a gift in other people's lives, and giving gifts that mean something. I'm kind of moving into this minimalist idea, and this is a huge time of the year where we really have difficulties with maybe overconsumption. And we want to make our holidays, I think everything with our children that we're doing, one of the things that I would love to focus these classes on is that we are working on what the feeling is with our children, because when they're gone, when they have their own homes or they leave, those things, the ways that they felt in the home are probably the most important thing. And that's what I want to focus kind of our discussion today on, is trying to create that feeling of what we're trying to do, in our homes during this season. This is our holiday resource page. They got 5 different websites here for you to continue to do your own study and learning. 9 ways to enjoy the holidays with your kids. I think I use that one the most, but also helping your kids and you enjoy the holiday break. Sometimes it can get really hectic, and it's fun to stay up late. It's fun to do those things, but it can cause a lot of havoc, especially when you have tiny little children. 34 most meaningful gifts for kids who have everything. And let's face it, most of our kids in America really do have everything, and some really great ideas of what you can do, gifts you can give that don't create more clutter in your house and in your life. Sorry, I keep pushing the wrong. Then we also talk about different service projects, because I think that's really important. Those are things I think your children are going to remember more than anything. And many of the things on this list might not be COVID friendly, but I think you can adapt them to our times. And I still think they're really important. And then also we're going to talk about 25 simple holiday traditions. And I tried to keep, as I was preparing for this class, keep on mind that many people have lost their jobs. I mean, I'm among those, that group of people that are kind of, working on a shoestring budget. And so many of these ideas come from with that mindset of like trying to do this as most inexpensively as possible, but to create the most memories. You have something to add?
No, sorry. A coworker was leaving and just waving by. I apologize for that. I need to learn to manage my distractions.
No, that's great. I just want to be sure that I'm like, did I miss something? All right. Well, let's talk about schooling through the holiday. If you're doing an online school, if you're doing a school, I have my daughter's actually in a charter school now, but we are homeschooling our last boy. We really have to kind of assess what that looks like for you. Sometimes, like I said, this is an extremely stressful time of the year. The last couple of years, I've actually hated this time of the year just because money's tight. You just don't know how you're going to make everything work. Schedules are hectic. I mean, I guess that's the positive thing with COVID is that it's in our benefit to stay home. And so there's a lot less activities, but at the same time, sometimes it causes extra stress because we are home. So we really want to think about, assess how you and your kids are feeling and work with them about what that schooling schedule looks like during this month in particular. And maybe think about, would a lighter workload be better for you? And think about how you can simplify that. Also, try to do less and enjoy the days off for family events. Make a holiday plan together as a family, I think is really important. Too many times, my husband and I just kind of roll through the year or roll through the season, and we talk about maybe things we want to do, but we don't like really make a plan to make it happen. And I think we miss out on a lot of memory building opportunities. When you ask kids what do they remember about growing up, so many times they mention these times of years, this time of year in particular, what the holidays look like. And I think building really healthy traditions for your family is really vital and key, because for some reason, anytime there's some significant event like this, these are the things that our kids remember about our family, and these are the lessons. They typically learn the lessons around these time of the year more than any time. Anyway.
Yeah. And I'll say, just to bolster your point, like there are lots of things that as adults, I mean, how many times have you said, hey child that I love so dearly, I mean, just insert your child's name there, but like, I love you and stuff, and we'll get to this thing that you really want to do another day, but daddy's really busy with X or Y or whatever. Like, I've been doing that a lot lately. And I can tell you it's heartbreaking for the kids, and because it's normal for us to just kind of like move things around as adults, like that's a thing, but like our kids don't get that, and we need to make them a priority. And I'll tell you, like, there's learning opportunities here too. Like, since October, I've been taking every Friday off to be with my kids, because they don't do school on Friday, but we call it Friday, and we take that opportunity to do fun stuff with dad, and we learn stuff sometimes, or so my daughter and I hate ice skating. I hate it so much. I hate every little bit of it, but my daughter wanted to go, and so we went ice skating. I was like, okay, whatever. But now, like, ice skating isn't terrible, and I kind of know how to ice skate, so it's a really good memory for the two of us, and it's just fun to learn something new. So whatever you've been putting off, think about those things. Everybody has them. Everybody has them. It's like, what's the one thing you're putting off doing with your kid? What's the one thing you want to do? Go snowboarding. Go skiing. Go watch a movie.
Sledding.
Go watch The Grinch. Do something.
Yeah.
Get out of your normal routine. Make sacrifices. Put stuff off. Say no to your regular obligations, and enjoy time with your kids. This could be a magical time of the year. And I will get off my soapbox.
Yeah, well, and if we think about it too, I can remember a few gifts that I got, but most of them were memories. I do remember my dad every holiday season going sledding was super important, and we lived down in Shelley, which has an amazing sledding hill, and it's just one thing that I've learned, and it's been really cool as we've sent our kids off. And we'll talk about these, but some of these holiday memories are some of the things that they remember the most, and the gifts that they want. So to go back to kind of this page anyway, we want to make those memories, but also keep to a schedule as much as possible, because it will make breaking into the new year healthier, which next time we're really going to talk about that. Like, next time I'd really like to focus, like, the time that you have off with your children, let's work on building like a family mission statement and what our family looks like. And that's what we're going to talk about next time, but kind of jump starting that new year. And it's really, especially with little kids, if their routines get all messed up, it creates for maybe a lot of crying and fussiness, and even with teenagers, even, if they're staying up late and they're eating junk food, it's going to make it so much harder to have an enjoyable time. So I really want people to keep that in mind, that we want to have fun, but we also want to kind of stick with those routines as much as possible. Also, make a simple plan with your family's input. This is really important. And my husband and I, he's trying to move into this entrepreneurial journey. We've talked more about this, so that we really need to start working together on this family plan and what that's going to look like. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. The season celebration, it's begun, and that's not all. We're also entering that season of stress and anxiety and overwhelm, when our to-do list feels really overpowering and commercial. There's a lot of commercialism and it really obscures what we're really celebrating in the first place. And just to be cognizant of that, I'm always sending off a missionary package, or trying to get the in-laws taken care of, or some of those Christmas cards done. And maybe those things, maybe it'd just be better to do phone calls or something. Those are things to really think about on how to reduce that stress. Every family wants the holidays to be memorable and joyful for their kids, but making that happen, parents have to remember that that whirlwind of activities can become so overwhelming. And little kids especially need that time to rest and relax and enjoy a special season. So definitely make a plan, but try to keep it simple as well. It's not I think I've talked about this before, but I'm going to pound it in there. The holidays is not a time that you want to abandon those family routines or ignore good nutrition or put the learning on hold. This, in fact, is a great time to be learning even more. And we'll talk about maybe some of those things that we can learn later on, but more about character development and more about taking care of other people and those types of things as well. Sometimes the best gifts that we can give our children is to help strengthen them socially and emotionally, and by developing and maintaining our balance and keeping calm. That's so hard when they're little, especially,
Oh my gosh.
you will see, the kids, as Christmas gets closer, they get a little bit more agitated. And then you, as a parent, you're trying to keep that calm is really hard sometimes. Teaching them to focus on positives and special meanings of the holidays. So much we get wrapped up in all this stuff. There's a picture there of my kids opening up all their crap, and sometimes they forget what it's really about. And that's what, as parents, I think we want to drive home those more valuable lessons. While kids are making their lists, parents need to do the same thing. So here's some things to kind of think about as we're putting together our lists. Get your kids involved in holiday planning. Find out what they want to do and where they want to go. Try to include them in that family schedule. I think little kids in particular, you're talking about how your son always like, well, I want to do this with you, Dad. Sometimes if he knows a schedule of when that's going to happen, that will relieve a lot of his own anxieties. And then he knows that he is an actual priority. It helps him understand too that parents not necessarily can't drop everything to go do something, but it's definitely, part of the plan and part of the schedule. And the more we've done that too, it's helped create better family cohesion and, that kind of thing when we include our kids in the planning. Start some family traditions. Hopefully everybody has some. Sometimes when we're growing up, we bring those into our lives, and we'll kind of talk about like if that's really healthy or not sometimes to bring in old traditions. But when we have those family traditions, whether it's decorating your house or singing songs of the season or baking cookies or making candy, those are things that we definitely want to be part of this time of year because it really helps with the learning. Participate in random acts of kindness with your kids. Either serving food at the soup kitchen, which is kind of hard to do. I think you have to be 18 now, but even preparing those Meals on Wheels, singing at a senior center, which with COVID might be a little hard, but sometimes you can even do an online thing for people as well. Baking cookies for teachers or neighbors, selecting and delivering angel tree gifts. Sometimes, even this time of year, they're willing to accept, and I think we'll talk about that decluttering as you're cleaning out, ask your friends, maybe that you have things that they need. Read stories about maybe different faiths or cultures. We always read a story about St. Nicholas. I did that a lot with my kids about where Santa Claus comes from, and made it a little bit deeper and richer so that it had a little more special meaning to it. Try to keep that normal routine, that kids are eating healthy, they're still going to bed. Disruptions really leads to fatigue and anxiety. Remind kids of the behavior that's expected. And I am not really a fan of the elf on the shelf type of thing. It just seems creepy to me. For some reason, I can't really get into it. But as all of us, and maybe that's something to reflect, ask them, how do you want mom to behave during this time? But it's really important too. Like, I know you're excited. I know you're really whatever, but and talk about what behavior is expected during this time. I also did that whenever my kids whenever we went into a store, like what is good store behavior? And I never had a child break down on me in the middle of the store either. So I really think when kids know what behavior is expected, they'll rise to the occasion. And I think this time of year in particularly is really important. It's also important to sense when they are hungry or they're tired, and take that into, account when we're talking about behavior. Ask your kids for help. Oh, they love this time of year to help doing anything, wrapping presents, or and who cares what the packages look like, right? It's going to get done. Participating in the shopping for just the right gift, or doing some type of service for other people can really boost their self-esteem and their confidence. Try to limit TV watching and emphasize exercise to cope with that holiday stress. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. And try to get outside. I know on your side of the state, Dustin, that's easy to.
And that's why I live here.
Over here, it's a little colder, but still, we have the snow. We have some great things to get outside and enjoy. Being active in the season as well, I think is really important. The holidays are all about translating experiences with your kids by helping others and talking to them about what that true meaning is. There's so much, like I said, character development that could be going on at this time of year that I think is really important. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink.
I'll while you're doing that, I'll fill in just a little bit.
Yeah.
We did something really fun last week, and this is not to self-gloss because I need to do more as a dad and as a community member or whatever. But I tried something really interesting. I took my kids down to the game shop down here on 8th Street here in Boise. I think it's called All About Games or whatever. And I said, hey, we're shopping for somebody else today. And I said, we're going to buy some games and we're going to take them straight to Toys for Tots and we're going to donate them. That's it. And the kids, I think they were a little disappointed, but, that's what we're doing today. And they went in the store and they looked around and their eyes got the size of small dinner plates and stuff. And they're like, wow, let's get all these toys. And I'm like, guys, we're not here for you. And they're like, but Dad, can we just get this one thing? I'm like, nope, not for you. We're here to help make sure that other people have a good Christmas because every kid deserves a little bit of magic under the tree. So do look for those opportunities for your kids to get outside of their reality, which is I want this, I want that, and remind them that the world's bigger than them and that it's on us, especially as small government people. Like if we want people to be taken care of, either we do it or the government does it. Let's us do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's really special about this time of year. There's so many opportunities to help other people that hopefully last into the new year. If you do it at this time of the year, it's more likely to carry over because of the feelings that you come away with. And that's really, as your children grow, I think I can't pound that home enough. I think that however they're feeling about a situation is almost more important than the situation itself in so many ways. And so I think as we learn to serve and teach our kids to serve, it can create, it can help in so many ways. Anyway, the holiday season doesn't have to be a time of stress or hectic activities or overcrowded calendars. I think it's really important. I'm a person who I have depression problems. I suffer with overwhelm a lot. Be intentional about making time that's forging memories that your kids will carry for the rest of their life and tell their own kids about and hopefully be part of their whole experience. This is, we have these books called The Christmas Memory. My husband and I they're 20 years in the books. We've been married long enough. We actually have 2 now. And it's really fun for our kids. We write down all the Christmas memories. I actually make it a year-long thing where this up here, I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the wrong thing. Anyway, the top picture shows our Christmas memory books, but it's really fun to have those just on the tables or whatever, and I see kids leafing through them, and they're kind of fun now because they're it's 26 years of memories, all the different pictures that we have in there, and they laugh at what my husband and I looked like when we were first married, and I have all the activities of like listed of what they did throughout the years and different pictures and stuff, and it's become a really important part of our life to have those Christmas memories. But then it's like I said, it's ended up trickling down where it's memories for the whole year. It's kind of a good summary of the year. We also do a lot of Christmas reading stories. Here's like a picture a few years ago when we were doing kind of our Christmas reading. We have a book, and in fact, when our kids have left, when my son went off to Russia, I recorded them all, reading them, and then sent them audio versions. And that's been really important for our kids to get those so that they listen to them every year, because there's some really great motivational stories and different things like that. This is so small. It's probably hard to see, but here's some really great ideas of trying to create some of those memories. Sometimes making a paper chain is really important, or doing paper snowflakes. That helps kids kind of mark the time. Going for walks or drives, admiring the lights, decluttering sessions, making room for gifts. It doesn't necessarily have to be something Christmassy, but that's also something like that they can remember. And then that helps us as we declutter, we can give those things away to people who might need things as well. There's a whole list of things here, and this was on the resource page of, different things that you can do. Some of them are so easy and cheap and inexpensive, but such great ways to continue, having a great experience with your kids. I don't know. Do you have any like traditions that you do, Dustin?
We do a couple things. Obviously, we decorate the tree as a family, dude. And I shared a picture on Facebook the other day, and it was kind of funny. I was kind of poking fun at the Instagram trees, but like our tree is not an Instagram tree. It's just not, right? But we did it together. And in fact, it's funny because my daughter, who is a Christmas nut, she asked me last Christmas, because Lincoln, our 8-year-old, put the star on the tree. She said, "Dad, I want to put the tree on the star on the tree next year." And I said, "Okay, Hall." So I actually put it in my calendar a year in advance. And cool. I actually remembered that she wanted to, but of course she asked me once a week in November, "Dad, do you remember this?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah." But we'll go around. I mean, the Boise has a great map of intricate, the really fun Christmas light shows. We did that the other night. We're doing that again on Friday night. We just bundle up in the car. We get blankets. We get, hot chocolate or whatever, and we go watch the crazy Christmas lights. And then we go up to Idaho City every once in a while, and we go sledding, and it's super duper fun. There's a really cool course up there, but the point is we make memories together. We do stuff that we don't normally get to do, and it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. I mean, if you have kids,
when your kids are little,
going anywhere is work, but this is extra work, but it's worth it. It is so worth it, and you will be thankful that you did it in 20 years when they say, "Dad, remember that one time we did this?" And you're like, "Heck yeah, I do."
Yeah, I think families that have traditions too, like I said, it's a very solidifying thing for them. It's something that it's like glue that holds that family together. And I think that's really what we're trying to do, is create those strong family bonds. I think it's stuff too that helps throughout the whole rest of the year. I mean, hopefully we can, like I said, continue these ideas of traditions and trying to do those types of things, but it's also a glue that can hold families together with holiday traditions.
And I would say too, it also creates, this is a different experience, but it also creates opportunities to help friends. So Lincoln has a friend who has I'll say an interesting family situation. Not my family situation. I'm not here to judge, but just interesting, right? And he doesn't get a whole ton of time with his dad. And so the boy comes over, and we've gone up swimming to my in-laws' hot springs. We're probably going to take him sledding with us once. I mean, obviously you need to protect your family time, because that's what matters, right? But it also creates opportunities to serve others who might not have those same opportunities. So look for those people too. It's like the 99 to
Yeah.
the one. Look for the one and see if there's opportunities to serve in what might be seen as a non-traditional way.
Well, and yeah, that does raise a really important point. I mean, that's the point of having a strong family. It impacts the rest of society. I know growing up, there were several kids that my dad was their dad. I mean, because their dad was absent or gone a lot, or they just didn't have very strong traditions. And but yet he became a very stabilizing influence in those kids' lives. And so I think like the if we can build our strong nucleus here, it is going to spiral out, and you'll end up the strength of your family will help other people. And that's really, I guess, why I really try to focus on that. Like, this may seem like a silly class, like to do with homeschooling and stuff, but like I said, this is kind of that glue that solidifies that family, and then it has that outreach to help and affect so many people. If you struggle with depression and stuff like this, I've come up with 5 questions to ask yourself, especially this time of year, to make you have a better season. This is more for parents, definitely, but 5 questions that you should ask yourself. Who should I purchase gifts for? And maybe giving gifts isn't really what you want to do, but how do you want to think about people, in better ways? Who are people that that you as a family or you really need to think about? Sometimes if we can ask those questions early and get that done early, get it figured out early, I mean, part of that mental stress is, it's helpful to have that over with as well. How can you simplify your gift giving? I think, like I said, we live in such a consumer driven situation, and we're going to talk more about ways to serve and stuff, and maybe that would be better. A gift of service might be a better idea versus giving people more stuff. And why are we giving? I think that's number 5. What's your motive for giving? I think if we're giving because it's expected of us, or we're giving because, this person always gives to us, and we really want to think about that and what your motives are. I think that can cause a lot of undue pressure as well. Because you're putting that kind of on yourself of like, I have to do this because this person did this for me, or there's some kind of expectation there. Are you protecting your time? It's really important to think about that. There's so many times we let all these little things come up, or people take time from us, and maybe sometimes we have to say no to some of those things that come up, especially during this time of year. Is this important to my family? I think sometimes when we bring traditions over from our childhood, we really have to think if that best serves me. Sunday dinner is one of those for me. My mom always had Sunday dinner, but it was never a very fun activity. There's a lot of, like, she was just stressed out. I mean, it was just expected. Like, we always have Sunday dinner, regardless of if this is good for me or not. And I don't remember very many happy times with Sunday dinner. If you can do Sunday dinner and you can make it a positive thing, that's great. But for me, there is no Sunday dinner. It's literally a 4-H thing. And it's probably, I kind of went the other way, because I was like, I'm not going to do any, I'm not going to put this tradition on myself that really isn't important. It doesn't create happy feelings in our home, and it doesn't create good memories. And so I think that's really important question to ask yourself of like, is this tradition important for me, and how does that serve me? Is my motives pure? What is my vision of success? Your vision of success might be from somebody else, and it's really not bringing success to your life. It's not bringing what you're hoping it's going to bring. So these are like from an old person, thinking about why I did things for so long, for so many reasons that just added to my, overwhelm and my struggles with depression. I think it's really important to find out what your motives are and what's really important to you. We're going to kind of shift gears as we're talking about trying to be a gift in somebody else's life. I love this study that the is it Wharfington Business
It,
School did?
that's Wharton, I think.
Wharton. Okay, thank you.
That's a good
Wharton.
one. That's Jonah Berger's school, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
nerd
at the
out for a sec.
University of Pennsylvania, they found that when people volunteered and or even just carved out small amounts of time of their day to help somebody else, they experienced feelings of efficiency and competency. These feelings gave people a sense that they could do a bit more with their limited time. And in other words, when you give time, you feel like you have more time, which I think is an interesting thing. And part of it might come from the endorphins that happens when we're serving other people, or, in some sense of it. Of what's going on with our brains, I'm not really sure. If you have kids, it's a parenting no-brainer to get them involved in service projects during the holiday season. And like I said, hopefully it carries on to the rest of the year. Studies show that when kids volunteer, it positively affects their grades, their attitudes towards education, their own self-esteem, especially where kids are so wrapped up in technology. Dustin and I were kind of talking about this before we even started. There's a lot of anxiety and depression that goes along with that. And it's a very self-centered thing. It almost feeds their narcissism, their narcissistic tendencies. And I think anytime that we can get them out thinking about somebody else, I don't know what that scripture is, like when we lose ourselves in service, we actually end up finding ourselves. And you find that with kids, that the more that they serve other people, their self-esteem is actually higher. There's a lot of links with youth, research linking youth volunteerism to the high quality of life that adults have, and show that families that focus more on material sides of the holidays tend to feel less happy than families that focus on spending time together. And I think you really have to start this young. My 12-year-old now sometimes has a hard time focusing like the holidays is for somebody else. And granted, he's the youngest. I probably spoiled him way too much. But I think, if we can focus that at a young age, and I don't know what anyone's belief in Santa Claus is, but sometimes that creates it's all about me kind of feeling. So we want to do whatever we can. Like I said, the old story of St. Nicholas is beautiful because it was somebody who gave things to other people, and he did that under the cloak of of not being recognized. And I think that that's almost a more important value to teach our kids than some of those old traditions that we have. So what are some better ways to spend time together volunteering? And really the best gift that we can give to our children is to teach them to serve other people. This was a really fun website. It had 51 holiday service projects of great ideas that you could do. I just placed a couple down here, making hygiene bags for the homeless. I think that's really kind of a cool, those bags that you just keep in your car. And if you see somebody struggling, you can give them a bag that, has all kinds of stuff in it. And they have different ideas online of what these hygiene bags look like. You can also make bags for maybe mothers that are struggling. If you see a mother struggling with little children, sometimes you can have tiny little toys or little treats or something like that in a bag to give to a mom. Shoveling walks, befriending a new family, taking dinner to Ronald McDonald families, making box dinners for needy families. It seems like a lot of churches this time of year are doing that. Do you have any service ideas that there's 51 of them on this website.
No, just do something. I think that's
Okay.
I think having lots of ideas is good, but just do something. Mm-hmm. And little things help. Even if you scrape your neighbor's sidewalk when there's snow over there in eastern Idaho, which there's not snow over here, or you shovel, or you do whatever. There's always opportunities. I think it's, again, and what we stress through these classes is just about awareness and presence. And when you're aware and present and reaching outside of yourself, then you can find those opportunities. I think that would what I would stress. Maybe I just don't have any ideas. I don't know.
And we're all about, making that family strong. Talk about freedom again. freedom happens when we have good, solid, strong families. Just think about Walter Williams dying. Was that at the beginning of the week or was that last week? I'm just
That was
catching up with it now.
that
But
was last week.
he
Sorry.
talks about that a lot within that ethnic community of like where they struggle, and part of that is the breakdown of the family, and really we need to get back to some good, strong family values. And some reason whenever we add materialism into it, it weakens the family, but when we do more of these types of things, it actually helps to strengthen the family. Talking about gifts to give your kids that are maybe a little bit different, that might last a little more, gifts that surprise them over and over again. Sometimes you can do like box gifts, like Kiwi Co. or something like that, where they're every month they're getting something. Gifts that they can use every day. And these are, I was going to have the website up because these are actually, this was a good one to go through and kind of look at what they're talking about with some of these things. But, maybe lessons or different things like that. The precious gift of commodity, which is your time, like setting dates. Like if your child wants to go to a movie with you or whatever, you can do like movie tickets, or those old fashioned books of ways to serve people. Those are really, especially little kids really love that, like how you have that gift of commodity, which is your time. Gifts of places that you want to take them, or things you want to do with them, that kind of thing. Gifts that make the whole family happy, like games, or they also talk about getting magazines for your kids. Sometimes like those are really impactful and powerful learning tools. I always loved gifts that my kids books are super crucial in our family. And then anything they can build with, tends to be a gift that they'll play with all the time. Maybe even a great big refrigerator box can be the
Heck
best.
yeah.
That's what I thought was so funny. Whenever we got our toddler gift, all he really cared about was the boxes. And so, something like that. It doesn't have to be anything. As a family, we're reading a lot of stories, these Christmas stories of families that didn't have a lot and they made a lot of homemade gifts. I think those two are kind of gifts from the heart in a way, because and when your kids give you gifts like that, you should cherish them. I always think it's funny on Mother's Day or Father's Day when the mom's wearing the macaroni jewelry or something like that, but that's making their kids so happy because they made that, and then they see that you love it too. So kind of the attitudes maybe that we have when we give gifts is even more important.
But can I just add one point here?
Yeah, love it.
Again, and this comes back to what you said earlier, is you don't have to stress. If you're stressing over this, stop, and then do this one thing. Go to your kids and ask them what they got for last Christmas.
Very important.
I bet you $100 they can't tell you.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that you can just give them empty boxes. I mean, maybe if they refrigerator box, a different story. But like, you don't need to stress. It's not the end of the world. Just be thoughtful. And if you're ruining your holiday season by like stressing over giving the perfect gift, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's why service is so important, because once they get out and they see like how, I mean, I feel bad. Like most Americans, we are the richest people in the world. I mean, and we have so much to be thankful for. And I think that's why it's important to have them out looking, because I think when Christmas Day comes, they're not going to cry that they got a 16 gig iPhone versus the 32 gig or whatever.
Right.
I mean, they see the needs there. And especially this year in particularly, there are a lot of needs. I'm part of a local group here that, people talk about their needs. And I wish that I was in a better situation myself, but that's really, we see so much need around us. And I think if they see that, they're going to be happy with whatever they get. Definitely. So we want to teach our kids gratitude too. This is a time when we have so much to be grateful for. And I think that's, if we can teach children to be grateful And that comes a lot from us mentoring that, for sure. That's one thing I've really been trying to focus on. Like whenever I'm posting something, I try to talk about like why I'm grateful for that, or what's, and some to keep that attitude high, because gratitude really is the most simple thing that we can do to keep our mental health positive, and then also to keep us people who are grateful are more abundant. You know, they have more abundance in their life, and they're happier for sure. So, and with your kids especially, cherish the moments. I went over, my oldest son's married, and it was really awesome to go over and help them decorate their own tree, and try to create their own memories. But it just brought back so much of like, where does the time go? Like, I can't even remember him little. You know what I mean? And I think any older parent will say that. And whenever I do these classes, I almost get a little teary-eyed, but I'm really trying to drive home those, your kids will be gone in a blink of an eye. So definitely cherish those moments. Do we have what are some gifts? Maybe people can help, some ideas about giving gifts, maybe traditions that you have or that you want to create. It's never too late to create a new tradition. And what will your holidays look like? I don't know if anyone.
I don't think we have anybody watching that will
comment.
I think there are people watching who don't want to comment, but yeah.
Okay. Well, some things to think about. I always love questions because it helps provide a life that has a little bit more intention, and then we really know why we're doing things. Sometimes we just do things automatically, habitually, and I don't think that's really healthy for a lot of reasons. But we definitely want to be people of intention that do things for a purpose and a reason. So yeah, hope next week people can join us. Like I said, we're going to talk about looking forward to that new year. This is a really great time to like re-examine what our why looks like. And whenever you're doing family learning, there's always a lot of shifting. You got to have some flexibility, and I always think it's a good idea to kind of re-examine that why. Trying to work on changing that mindset for success. And I think that in particular this year, what's the new thing that they're saying? Like, well, the new normal is one thing that we hear, but also like
the new normal,
the new reset, right?
Oh, the great reset, yeah.
The great reset. You know what though? That's very positive, because there were a lot of things in our society that wasn't working. There was a lot of things in our lives that we were just doing because, like I said, they were tradition. They were how they had always been done. And so this is a great time to really be thinking about, and resetting. I think that we can make that into our positive thing, right? That we are doing something different. And there's many things I hope don't go back to normal because they weren't working for us anyway. And we're going to focus a lot on creating that family mission statement. I think whenever we have a powerful, that's one of those unifying things as well. And then customizing your life with your ideals. I lived too long without doing that. And I think that's really important to learn how to customize that life with ideals. So
yeah. Can I add two things?
Sure.
So one for this conversation, one for the next one. It's always a temptation. Look, I've lost 45, depending on the day, I've lost 45 to 48 pounds this year, which is a huge accomplishment. But I also, as I think about it, it was just because I was present and I wanted something more. I made a conscious choice. I said, hey, I want to be with my kids. I want to be able to keep up with my kids when I'm old. So I got to do something, because I was not good. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's always a temptation to eat food a bunch when you're at the holidays. I mean, there's so many eggnog, you got candy canes, you got all. Be present with what you eat too, because eventually you're gonna have to work those pounds off, and if you don't, it's just gonna be another shame cycle, and you're just gonna deal with it. So I know this isn't necessarily right in the same vein with the lesson, but just be present with yourself as you eat and love your future self enough to have a little bit of restraint. And I'm not saying don't enjoy stuff. Obviously, I'm going to. I mean, look, this guy is going to eat some treats, but just don't overdo it because you will hate yourself later. I promise you.
Well, and that goes with the overall mood of how we end up feeling about ourselves. I think that's very crucial. I think we talked about that a lot in this lesson, like why it's important to stay on that routine and keep working out. And this is the time I'm laughing too, because I go to the gym every day and it is like a ghost town. I'm just like, come on, people. I've known at the first of the year it's going to be crazy again. And I'm like, don't, this is not a time to slack off. I know it's crazy, but I mean, especially if you've ever had mental health issues, sometimes what we do is, when we start feeling overwhelmed, is we let ourselves drop off. And you as a parent in particular, I'm a huge believer in self-care, and keeping that going helps you to have the energy to do those activities with your kids in a better state of mind and feeling better about yourself. So I think that's very okay. What was your second point?
The second thing is I don't think we've ever assigned homework on this other than to suggest materials, and I guess then I'm going to do that again. Stephen Covey wrote, he's the seven successful, I don't remember what it's called, but Stephen Covey is the guy.
Pausing.
Yes.
Okay.
And but he wrote a book called The Seven. Can you still see me? My computer's giving me trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And I read that and it just made me rethink about, because sometimes when you have a family, you just kind of like go through it. You just kind of deal with stuff as it comes up, and you're never intentional. You're never thoughtful. So if you have the means, go grab the book. I think it's it's a used book. It's an old one. You can find it for like $5 or $10 or whatever on Thrift Books or Amazon or whatever. But if you really want to rethink how you do your family and being the most effective family unit, and I think that's becoming more and more important these days.
Oh, definitely.
Go read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. It's worth every penny you could ever spend. So
if we want to reduce the anxiety, the fear that we have in our society, I think, like I said, creating that good, solid family is really crucial. And we will be giving homework next time. I actually have a really simple worksheet that you can do with your family to help create that family mission statement. And we did it as a family, and it was super easy. And then it just gives you stuff to write up so that this is, like I said, get your family's buy-in for all of this. I think that's really one of the key components that's missing in a really good, solid families is their ability to communicate together. And then that affects society at large, because I mean, we see like we cannot communicate together as a society anymore. And I think that comes from the fact we never learn that, like I said, that family central, and then it spirals outside of that. And so I will be giving you homework next time.
Whoops.
No, but get that book, because that's part of it.
Definitely get the book. Definitely get the book. All right.
All right. Well, I don't have anything more to add. We'll hopefully be updating these sessions. You should be able to go to lumusmy.net, and I'll reattach it to the top of that blog post so you can get all the recordings if you want. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Okay. All right. Thank you.